Our last video went through the key elements you must be mindful of when presenting in person to make sure you are engaging to your audience. But what about how you should structure the content of a presentation? When you ask people the question, what makes an effective presentation? Most will focus on physical elements and identify factors such as speaking clearly or making sure you make eye contact with the audience. Now, don't get me wrong. These elements are incredibly important, and our last video did a great job at providing some helpful ideas to improve these areas. But something to remember is that there is a lot of work you need to do before you actually stand up to present in person. Your presentation process begins when you first read the question and start to prepare your answer. An effective presentation is not just about how you present, but also what you present. The way that you prepare and structure your content is very important. Why? It's the basis of your presentation, so you need to structure your content in a way that is easily understandable and worthy of your audience's attention. So that is what this video is about, giving you advice on how to structure your answer so it is clear, understandable, and effective. So where do we start? With a question, of course. Now, in many subjects, students would be asked questions based on a case or a business scenario. Therefore, understanding how to read and interpret cases before addressing the questions is very important. To help us, we will use this case example. This is a typical style of question you may be given. Now, you might be thinking, gosh, that looks like a lot of information. Where should I start? Don't worry, we're here to help. When addressing cases and questions such as these, it's really helpful to follow a simple step-by-step process called IRAC. IRAC is a 4-step method that's actually used by many law schools that will help you address any case-based question you are presented with in a logical way. So let's go through the steps. Step 1. Identify key case facts and issues. The first step is to read through the case very carefully to identify the key facts and issues presented. This identification will then drive the remainder of the process. So take your time in reading the case. You may want to highlight or underline key parts of the scenario as you read to make sure you're absorbing all of the information and you don't miss anything important. 2. Refer to the relevant rules and/or standards that relate to the topic or case that you are working on. If it's a legal question, you may need to refer to a certain law or legislation. If it's an accounting question, you may need to refer to the relevant accounting standard. This becomes the background theory you're going to use to answer the question, so make sure you're referring to the right rules. Step 3. Apply the rules or standards to the case. This is where you use the rules and guidelines provided by the standards and link them to the key facts and issues you identified in the case. This will not only allow you to reach an answer to the question, but it will also help you to explain and support your answer. Step 4. Conclude your answer. Finally, express and explain your conclusion using the rules from the previous step to show a true and confident understanding of the topic. So in summary, the 4 steps to IRAC are identify key facts and issues, refer to relevant rules or standards, apply the rules, and finally, conclude your answer. So let's apply these steps to our case example. Step 1. Identify the key facts from the case. You don't know what's important in the case unless you know what the question is asking for. So my advice is to read the question first rather than the case. In this scenario, the question is, on what date should Trendy recognize and record the revenue from this sale in its accounting records? Explain. Once you know what the question is, you can read through the case to identify the key facts which will help you answer the question. The key facts may be numbers or figures presented in the case, dates of important events, names of key individuals, or some other information. To illustrate this, let's read the example case we showed earlier, and as we go, let's highlight the facts that may be important in helping us to answer the question. Trendy Shoes Limited, or Trendy, is a designer shoes wholesaler based in Sydney. Diego Shoes Limited, or Diego, is a fashion retailer based in Brisbane which sources luxury designer shoes from Trendy. On the 26th of June, Diego places an order for 150 shoes over email. This information is passed on to the warehouse personnel at Trendy, who then check to see if sufficient quantities are available to fill Diego's order. Enough stock was not available at that time, as Trendy was awaiting a shipment of shoes from Italy which was received on the 28th of June. This meant that Diego's order was prepared and sent by truck the next day on the 29th of June. Given the distance from Sydney to Brisbane, the order of shoes was finally delivered to and received by Diego on the 1st of July, along with the invoice. Diego then paid for the purchase at the end of the month, on 30th of July. Now let's highlight the key case facts. Firstly, it's important to identify the businesses involved in this case, Trendy and Diego. Trendy is a wholesaler based in Sydney. Diego is a retailer based in Brisbane which sources shoes from Trendy. Second, the question is asking about a date. So we should keep track of what is happening on each date to help us determine when the revenue should be recorded by the business. On the 26th of June, Diego places an order for 150 shoes. Enough stock was not available at that time. A shipment of shoes from Italy was received on the 28th. Diego's order was prepared and sent by truck on the 29th of June. The shoes were finally delivered to and received by Diego on the 1st of July along with the invoice. Diego paid on the 30th of July. Now that we have the key facts, we can move on to the next step. Step 2. Identify and refer to the rules or standards relevant to the case or topic. Once you know the question and have identified the key case facts, it's time to refer to the relevant rules that relate to the topic or case you're working on. As I said before, this becomes the background theory used to answer the question, so make sure you are referring to the right rules. In finding the right rules, you must think about the material you believe is connected to the question and refer back to your course content, such as lecture slides and your notes from class. Different situations will relate to different regulations standards, such as the AASBs for accounting scenarios, the ASAs for auditing questions, APES 110 for ethics cases, and or the Corporations Act for company law and business matters. The relevant rules will then guide you in getting to the answer. For our case, the question relates to the date the company should recognize revenue in their accounting records, so it makes sense that we would need to refer to the accounting standard that covers revenue recognition. That standard is AASB 15. As we read through the standard, we reach paragraph 31, which states, "An entity shall recognize revenue when the entity satisfies a performance obligation by transferring a promised good or service to a customer. An asset is transferred when the customer obtains control of that asset." This brings us to the application part of the process. Step 3. Apply the rules or standards to the case. Application is the step where we link the rules to the case facts. Now that we have found and read the relevant guideline on when to recognize revenue, we can apply this rule to our case. So the rule states that the entity can recognize revenue once they have transferred the goods to the customer. So on which date has this transfer happened? Step 4. Reach your conclusion. The answer is the 1st of July. Why? Because this is the date where the order of shoes was finally delivered to and received by Diego, which means this is the date the goods were transferred to the customer according to the AASB 15, paragraph 31. See how we expressed our conclusion and supported it with reference to the standard? That is how you effectively structure an answer. Finally, when it comes to preparing to present your answer to an audience, it's a good idea to write a draft speech for your presentation. This will make you really think about how you will explain your answer and structure your verbal presentation in a logical way. If you are not very confident in your language skills or simply want someone to have a look over your speech, there are a number of helpful resources available to you. Grammarly is a great online tool you can use at home to check that you are using the correct expressions, correct spelling, and your explanations make sense. There are also many friendly staff at UTS Helps, located in the Tower building, who can provide in-person assistance as well. Remember, an effective presentation is not just about how you present, but also what you present. The way that you prepare and structure your content is very important. So make sure you dedicate time to structure your answer and presentation using the 4-step IRAC process. Review your content, check your spelling and grammar. By doing this, you will become better prepared and more confident, leading to your presentation. We hope you have found this video helpful. In our next video, we are going to show you how to prepare a presentation visually using PowerPoint to effectively present your answer. Good luck, guys!